Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Peter J. Redding, and welcome to Tuesdays with Peter. I'm excited about today because I thought we'd do even more exploration around the idea of life purpose. And what we're talking about in this session is core life purpose. What is the just a second, let me do one thing here. Yeah, we'll let it go. I believe that everybody has a core life purpose. I believe that it was there from an endowment from my creator, however you might hold that for yourself. I believe it was there at birth. I believe it's there now. I believe it's there when I die. And I also believe that it doesn't change over time. What I don't believe life purpose is just doing, the exact right role, the exact right job, the exact right thing. I believe that life purpose shows up, informs, inspires everything that I do in life. So when I was a teenager and I was a Boy Scout, I think that life purpose was at work deep down underneath, even if I was unconscious of that at the time. I believe it was there in university. I believe it was there in all the different jobs that I had in the corporate life and corporate world. Now, you can believe that or not believe that. That's up to you. The key for me is to actually articulate it, actually unearth it, actually write it down on a piece of paper. And that process is in process number 1. I think it's process number 1. Might be process number 2. I think it's process number 1 at CoreSELFtech.com. Let me see if I can get CoreSELFtech.com up here. My computer's going bunko right now. See if we settle in here. There they are. Okay. So www.CoreSELFtech.com. It's free access. I've made this available to the public. This is something that I've been coming through me and I've been working with in various forms over the last 26 years. The version that is at CoreSELFtech.com is what I call the short version. It's a little 10-minute. You can do it self-administered. You can download it for free at CoreSELFtech.com. Right now, there's other ways of accessing it. I find that this one is uniquely crafted so that it's meant to bypass the linear brain. It's not what I have been programmed purpose in life by my parents, by my gender, by my culture, by my generation, all those kinds of things that have an impact on what I think I'm supposed to be or who I am supposed to be. So it bypasses that intentionally. And it will be 100% unique, guaranteed. It'll be 100% unique to you. I've done this directly with probably 5,000, 6,000 people over the course of the last 25 years. No two have been alike. What you will discover in that self-discovery process is about your core self. That's why I love the terminology core self or core selfie, picturing yourself from the inside out. Yeah. Now, the sense of core self, which includes 3 elements, life purpose only being one of them. I'm not going to talk about the other 2 today. The discovery process allows you to do this on your own. It allows you to know yourself in a very unique manner and be able to articulate it, actually writing it down. So like what I call the I am statement. I am, okay. And it can be your guiding force. It can be your GPS. It can be your North Star. It can be every decision that you make, small or large, can be looked through the perspective of my life purpose. Does this serve my life purpose? Is this in alignment with my life purpose or not, as the case may be? And if it's not, then how can I adjust? How can I morph? How can I edit? How can I delete parts of what I'm going after or add things in terms of what I'm going after so that it is more in alignment with my life purpose? Now, is this significant? Yeah. Anyone that's going through midlife crisis knows this maybe painfully if they're at the beginning of life or midlife crisis, like, who am I? What do I contribute to the planet? How does my life make a difference? All those questions that are existential, like, why do I exist? So it's called existential. I learned that at 40 years old because I was pretty much obtuse before that. Now, I think it was a driving force earlier in life, but I just wasn't aware of it. And so that's the key to today. The conversation today is how do I use life purpose? How do I bring that into my life? How do I consciously use that as a guiding force, a conscious guiding force, as opposed to an unconscious guiding force that might still be dictated by outside influences? So my life purpose, and it hasn't changed in 25 years. I am the exquisite and playful orchestration of my unique human expression and my oneness with spirit that come together to create a bodacious flourishing of life. Okay, that's Peter Redding's life purpose. Nobody else has that. Nobody else has put those words together in that way ever. Again, Dr. Seuss says, you are you. It's truer than true. There's no one alive that's youer than you. I just love that because it's true. And I would even go further than Dr. Seuss, as brilliant as he was, is there's no one before me that was alive or no one after me that will be born that will have that exact unique life purpose. Okay. So once you've figured it out, and we're not going to go through that process today. If you have not gone through that process, please do. Again, CoreSELFtech.com, right here, down here. Okay. Do that on your own. Do it in privacy of your own, your own space. Put that together for yourself. And it's meant to come in under the logical brain, under the radar, we call it. Under the radar. So if it's confusing initially, great, you're on the right track. All right. Now, how do I use this? It's like the so what of it. Well, the so what of it is that I believe that a human being cannot have a deep, permanent, personal life experience of being fulfilled without they're designed to be by their creator. Okay, that's pretty heavy. You can feel comfortable. You'll maybe feel safe. You'll maybe feel admired in life by others. Yeah, you could even be inspirational to others, but you will never have a deep, personal, lasting sense of fulfillment until you're living your life in alignment with who you are crafted and created to be by your creator. So, significant? Yeah, hugely. Is it easy to articulate this? Actually, it is. It's not a big deal. There are so many quotes out there and people saying, yeah, just be who you're meant to be. Just be yourself. But the problem with being yourself is what self? Is it my dictated, absorbed who I'm supposed to be self that has been shaped and formed by society, by social media, by television, by music, by my generation, by my nationality, all the rest of it. Those are all external. Here's who you're supposed to be. If you're born as a girl child, then here's how you're supposed to behave. Here's how you're supposed to live your life. Here's how you're supposed to get married. Here's how you're supposed to, act in public, blah, 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 and so on. Okay, yeah, I get that. And it's all external. But it doesn't define who you are, who you really are, who you're meant to be, who you're created to be. So I'm a radical in the sense of be yourself. Don't be afraid to not be yourself. Be bold to be yourself. And the only way that you can know the self that you are meant to be is to go through a process that bypasses all that programming that's registered up here in the brain. Get underneath that. Who are you at the origin of yourself? And maybe that was even pre-birth for all I know. I don't know. But it certainly isn't something that you have had to learn as you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, and so on. It's almost like the unlearning of that, releasing, shedding that skin because it no longer fits. Like I just, why am I uncomfortable being me? Is a telltale sign. And again, what I had to go through a midlife crisis of this can't be all there is. This is, like, why am I here? And once I get down to that core self, now I can begin to operate from there. I can start making decisions. So the reason for this, the significance of this is, okay, so now I'll use my speaking I statements here. As a 73-year-old American male, heterosexual, that is an entrepreneur, highly educated, able-bodied, what else? All those things all combined. Yeah, thank you God for all of that, right? And how do I make choices now in terms of this stage of my life in accordance with the life purpose that I just articulated, right? And the opportunities that come to me, whether it be in coach training, whether it be in volunteering to the coaching profession globally, which I do, and I love doing that. And it I mean, look at that one, just that single one. I have the privilege to be invited many times back to the international profession of coaching to contribute what I now know after 25 years of being a coach trainer, being a coach mentor, being a coach assessor, so on and so forth, in a way that allows my life purpose to flourish. There is a bodacious flourishing of life when I bring my core self to that work, to that group, to that assessor group, to that review group, to that opportunity to share at annual conferences and so on and so forth, right? And that's all pro bono. It's not like I'm getting paid for that in terms of monetary terms, but I'm getting paid for it in terms of, oh my God, I'm humbled at the thought of, little old Peter, who didn't think much of himself at 10 years old, to be in a position to contribute to the global society thriving, because I absolutely believe that that's what I do as a professional coach. And I think that's what all of us do as a professional coach, whether it's one-on-one coaching with corporate executives or bringing it into our family, the philosophy of coaching, asking questions rather than telling people who they are and what they're supposed to be doing, feeds my soul, quite literally. It can also include things that I have coming up in terms of invitations to, Peter, can you join us to do this, that, or the other? And I come back to that compass. Is this completely in alignment with my life purpose or not? There are lots and lots and lots and lots, thousands, millions of worthy causes that are going on right now as I'm speaking. And I ask myself, is this my work to do? Not is this worthy work to do, because it is, but is this my work to do? And again, in order to answer that question, I have to go back to my life purpose. Is this, by bringing my gifts, my talents, my purpose to this endeavor, to this group, to this conversation, to this event, does this create a bodacious flourishing of life by bringing the humanistic part of a human being and the divine part, the oneness with spirit, however you say that for yourself, by combining those two things, does that bring a flourishing of life? Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's how can you live life without it? I kind of keep going back to the question. Well, I didn't, frankly. I was wandering through the desert for the first 35, 40 years of my life without having that beacon, without having that North Star. So what I'm curious about, here's a question for you today, for those of you that are in the inner circle here on the Zoom call, and for those of you that are on YouTube live right now, if you have a question about this in terms of how does this apply to my life, or how could it apply to my life? If I don't have this now, it's kind of like a guessing game. Yeah. You can type it into the chat box on YouTube. We'll get it translated. There's a little bit of a time delay, just because that's the way YouTube streaming works. And we'll get it into my chat box so I can see that. So the question again is, to what degree has knowing your life purpose supported you in making some decisions recently, since you articulated this? And maybe you articulated this with me in one of the coach trainings that I do a year ago or 10 years ago. But have you found that it is a support for you to make maybe even tough decisions on how I am meant to be living my life right now? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? So open to conversation, open to input. Let me get my chat box here and see if there's anything that's already coming in. Hi, Peter, so good to see you. The game changer Tuesdays. Thank you for that. That's coming from Rajita. Thank you, Rajita. Welcome, awesome coaches, Series 6. It's Cello inviting everybody and welcoming everybody. Thank you. Great. Cello top fan. So who would like to share? Who would like to share?
I will go ahead, Peter. It's Christine Bradley here.
Hey, Christine, how you doing today?
Hi there. Good morning. I'm doing very well. Good evening elsewhere in the world. I'd like to say that what I have learned and how it has propelled me, and it's almost a year, Peter. I started part one.
Wow.
1 year ago in about 10 days.
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you for helping me to discover my life purpose, which has propelled me to really focus and change my direction in life. So,
Wow.
and I know that I shared this with you personally, but after 30-year of career of somewhat coaching in my role, I have now become a professional coach. And so that's where it has helped me. But more importantly, every day, and I love it, I just remember my life purpose. I have it written down. And so that I am very clear and aware of my impact on others.
Mm.
And it's extremely impactful. And it's funny, at about 7 a.m. Eastern this morning, I read something for 10 minutes that impacted me. And it has a lot to do with coaching. And it is basically the 25% of what you've learned out of life were your experiences. And it almost was like it was written for me to say, hey, Christine, you got where you are in this world somewhat through learning, through others and doing and watching. But the life experiences, the critical life experiences, the hard knocks, the good times, the bad times, really helped form me as a person. And then also to be able to be the warm, accepting person I am, to provide a safe space for others.
Wow. Wow. So I hear a high level of consciousness now that you've articulated your life purpose. And it seems like you're looking through that lens in terms of your life choices now.
Yes.
If you could describe the difference between, I'm not sure even not knowing is the right vocabulary here, but not having an articulated life purpose, but you're still, I know that you're doing great work before a year ago, obviously, and heartfelt work. But if you were to go back and kind of put on a balance beam or the scale, is there, this is going to sound leading because it is. What's the difference? What's the difference in terms of your knowingness?
It's an easy answer. It's an easy answer. And I think, and I know you helped get me there. The difference is, Peter, that I am now being versus doing.
Ah, wow.
I'm still doing things, obviously. I'm still getting up. I'm taking care of others. I'm getting work done.
Sure.
But I'm making a conscious effort every day to be a human being. And it's like the easiest thing we could do. And it doesn't take that long to sum it up.
So
thank you.
you're not only being a human being, you're a unique human being, is what I hear.
Exactly. Yes.
So I'm being me, which sounds so simple when it's articulated that way or written down. Yeah, just be yourself, right? I mean, that's not a new concept by any means, but to actually be able to do that, I think you need to have an articulated, clear life purpose statement that says, okay, so if I'm being me, then I'm being this, right? I am or not, or maybe in this, if I look back a year ago, maybe before, meeting Peter Redding and life purpose and all of this business and becoming a professional coach. Yeah, I was still being me, but maybe not fully, or even if I was fully, I wasn't appreciating it fully. Now with an articulation, wow, yes.
It is absolutely an awakening. It just seems so simple, but it just helps me with clarity and with my purpose. And so I just want to share that with you and everyone. That's my take.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Who else? What comes out of this conversation for each of you? Again, the so what of it? So what? Now I know. Before maybe I didn't know, or I had an inkling, but it wasn't articulated as clearly as it could have been back when I was 40 years old, back when I was 10 years old, back when I was 17 years old. Someone, I'm seeing the bottom of the chat, but not the top of it. Let me just adjust my screen here. Charles says, your true core self, how can you live life without knowing that? Peter J. Redding, okay. Giving me back some of my own quotes, reminds me of the old commercial. Your true core self, don't live life without knowing you or your true self. Find yours at CoreSELFie.com. Yeah, thank you, Charles. Yeah, it's a harder path, I think, to not know it and not have it articulated. Now, I think Joseph Campbell was onto it when, follow your bliss. When you are following your life purpose, consciously or unconsciously, it feels really good. I think that's what he was pointing at, follow your bliss. And I don't think it's a temporal bliss. It's not a a high that you might get artificially from drugs or a lot of other things that we dabble in as human beings. I think we're still searching for that high, but the high of being myself is what I think he was referring to as that sense of bliss. And so I think there's an automatic system inside of each of us, even if we're unconscious of it, or when I was unconscious of my life purpose, that it kind of, this doesn't feel right. Yeah, this doesn't feel right either. And it's kind of like a continuing guessing game, right? Life purpose is, oh, yeah, there's the beacon. There's point, true north. When I'm on that or as close to that as I can be consciously, making life adjustments, I feel blessed. I feel great. I feel like I'm on purpose, and not mom and dad's purpose, not because I'm an American male purpose, but I am a unique human being on my purpose. Can you imagine a planet? Just think for 30 seconds. If every human being on the planet knew their life purpose, their core life purpose, not one that someone's given to them, their core life purpose, and made decisions just today, just right? Was it February 1st, I think, today, 2022. If everybody on the entire planet lived according to their life purpose today, instant world peace, instant generosity, instant taking care of our fellow man. Not trying to grab something from somebody because I don't have enough of that. Talking about changing the planet, that would change the planet. That would be a bodacious flourishing of life. That would be because I'm being me, because you're being you're being you. Everybody's being themselves, their core selves. Wow. Yeah. Charles saying, yep, I want to share, but I'm waiting for Vivek to share first. I don't know if you two have a tag team going on or what, but welcome both of you.
Since Charles has said that, I'll go first. Probably a comment, Peter, if I may.
Yes.
There would be, so-called world peace if each individual understood the real core, the real core self, and everyone's individual real core self is no different from the others,
Mm-hmm.
So that would make it, homogeneous and But that means getting under the mind, which it means disregarding the fluctuations and the inflections of the mind that, take us into different places. On the other hand, if somebody understood their personality and their being from the limited consciousness perspective, because we are much more than we know, and we represent what we know. So if we're defining our core self from the limited consciousness of what we know of ourselves, then the world would be pretty much the way it is. There would be war, there would be medicine, there would be peace, there would be everything. Because that's what that limited consciousness does. It focuses us on that particular trajectory. The unlimited, indivisible consciousness focuses us inwards into that same spot. So that was the comment. And to your earlier question, my own experience has been that whether we know our life purpose or we don't, the impact of this manner of coaching can be, and I say can be because it has been for me, and therefore I can say with certainty that it can be, is that it allows the unnecessary to fall off. So whether if I knew my purpose, as a child, or if I knew my path but couldn't define it as a life purpose, if I said this is the way I want to go, but I didn't know how to define that as a 10-year-old, and we find words to articulate it, down the line, which is really all mentalism, and it's all, it's all fabrication of word technology. But I found that it allows for the unnecessary to fall off and depart.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it becomes such a relief that it becomes a, it's like a domino effect. Something goes and you feel lighter, and something else goes and you feel lighter, and something else unnecessary goes and goes and goes until you can't feel light anymore. It's pretty much everything is gone, and in that you have absolved yourself of the limited and begun to experience what is unlimited. This is, I don't know of how else to explain it, but that's been my experience. And it allows for the taking of steps, or for the happening of situations without the taking of bold steps, or allowing the happening of situations without fear and without favor and without preference. I want this or I don't want that, and this is good for me and that is not good for me, until it's all gone. I think that's very powerful at the right time. It's like that. It's that inflection point at the right time, and nobody can say when the right time is. Nobody knows. So that's what I find brilliant. Peter. I mean, we've been together now 10 years. Or such, and it's been my constant experience that the essence, I won't say conversation, because deeper than that is the essence. The essence is to return to the self, which is like turning your back to everything else, And the world continues. You see rivers flow, and the sun shines and it rains, and the world, no matter what. And the proof is that even if we depart this earth, it still continues. So that's how I feel.
Life goes on.
Yeah. Thank you,
I love,
Charles.
yeah, no, I love some of the words that you've used in terms of the conscious versus unconscious, the limited versus the unlimited, the unlearning or the releasing of, what's no longer appropriate or necessary for me to be me. And there's a lightness of spirit. There's a lightness of, I'm not carrying that heavy load of, again, what I call external programming. And it's not because they want to, burden a child that the parent wants them to be safe and successful and healthy and all the rest of it. And I believe that at a certain point in life, whenever that happens for each of you that are listening to this, and it might be in your 20s, it might be in your teens. There's people that have had this life purpose discovery happen in their mid-teens, down as low as 14, 15 years old. And there's those of us that get it in their 40s, and there's some that still haven't gotten it in their 60s and 70s. But regardless of when that happens is going to be individually important to you and your choice. To become, going from the unconscious, this is just who I am. This is who I've been for 62 years. Well, I get that, and maybe that's not the real you. So yeah, it's to be on the other side of not knowing, or the other side of unconscious, or the other side of comfortable, or the other side of carrying around a heavy, I'll call it baggage, from what others have heaped on top of me, that I have to be, who I need to be, how I have to show up, is such a freaking relief. It's like, wow. Yeah. I got one translation here, or not translation, but a YouTube from Reddish. Hi, Peter. Knowing my life purpose has made me make more meaning of everything that I do now. Everything seems much more aligned when it's in line with my life purpose. Yeah, brilliantly stated, Reddish. Thank you for that. It's like the nose on my face, right? It's so clear. It's so obvious. It's the first thing that, is in front of me every day. And yet I overlooked it. I didn't know how to determine my life purpose until, or even want to look for it, or realize that I wasn't doing that until my late 30s. I was just marching to the tune of my parents, my forefathers, my generation, all that, my education. Here's who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be an executive. You're supposed to be, a contributor to life. You work hard. You get recognized for it. You make a lot of money. You get comfort, provide a comfortable life to my family, etc. But it was devoid of me. There's very few connections back to my core self. Yeah. Charles, you've been waiting patiently. Anything that you'd like to add to the festivities today?
Well, I've just been channeling Dr. Zeus, just kind of cogitating all of the thoughts that are springing up. And it's challenging when I process them, sometimes to not sound self-serving. I have lived an unbalanced life, a joyfully unbalanced life. In the early decades, I didn't think about purpose. I mean, I got sucked into community work, community empowerment, civil rights, disaster relief, national disasters, man-made disasters. And it wasn't until much later that I began to appreciate knowing what your true purpose is. And I've shared before that you've kind of ruined me in a lot of different ways. like put titles on hold. And you talked about world peace, and I believe I'm working with John B. Cobb Jr., who's 96 years young, has been sounding the climate change alarm for over 50 years, written over 50 books. And he's working to get the presidents of the United States and China to collaborate and work on world peace. And I'm thinking elected leaders at any level need to show their CoreSELFtech card, proof of completion, before they take office. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you don't have that foundation, it's kind of a very challenging, interesting situation. I'm very grateful for your comment about follow your bliss, because I'm working on blissisms and creating language and philosophies to help people cope with negative, challenging situations. So the imbalance is that when I did begin to discern that I might have some purpose, I realized, I'm way the hell behind schedule. So I've been racing, because part of what is my purpose is to let things come through me to the world the way you have with CoreSELFtech. So I am honored and humbled by this community, including leadership. Thank you.
On behalf of the universe, thank you, Charles, for showing up, being yourself, and doing God's work through you for a lifetime. One of the most compassionate, compelling human beings that I know and blessed with in my life. So you are a blessing in my life. No doubt about that.
Can we add that to your 10,000 quotes? I could use.
You absolutely can. Yeah. Quote me on that one, Charles, about yourself.
Well, I'm doing everything possible to share CoreSELFtech, because I don't know of any more valuable tool. And I don't know if you see how I've been borrowing other people's social media posts all over the world. Say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. But have you thought about your truecoreself.com? I'm doing my part, and I'm sure Vic is too, because we're ambassadors.
You are an ambassador. Thank you for that. I like your idea. The any political officer or corporate officer, for that matter. Okay, so where's your core self? Who's the essence of you? The other comment I'll make about that, by the way, is that I believe every human being has that, and it is a life-affirming one. I don't believe that I know there's people that say, yeah, the devil is resides in some people. I don't think that they start that way. I just don't. I think they may be forced into that position through hate, through neglect, through batterings, physical, emotional, ideological. But I don't think anybody starts off that way. I think the soul of a human being is innately life-affirming. And that's the way it starts. And that's the way it always is deep down inside, but it gets, in some cases, showered with negativity, showered with, you're a rotten human being. You'll never amount to anything, right? And get that bombarded early on. But to find out the core self is to find out the innately divine, life-affirming, magnificent awesomeness that is a birthright. You were born with that, regardless of what you think of yourself now or what others think of you, or the heinous things that you've done in life. That's not the core self. That's not the core you. One of my graduates took the book that I wrote, Positively Brilliant Self-Mastery, which talks about all of these things. Around the topic that we're talking about right now is that sense of innate magnificence, innate brilliance, innate life purpose. And he said, it's the first time that the concept that I am a whole and perfect and beautiful human being has ever crossed through my brain. First time. And I don't know how old the guy was. I don't remember him telling me that, but later on in life, you know, late 30s, 40s, 50s. That's who I am. That's who everybody, that's all my brothers and sisters globally have, that innate magnificence within them. And so the idea of supporting that reconnection, that rebirthing, that re-understanding, that re-articulation of who I really am, who I was designed to be by my creator, in and of itself can be a monumental kind of really for a lot of people. Because that doesn't get broadcast every single day, 24/7, like all the bad news gets broadcasted 24/7, 365. And so, you know, this is a voice in the wilderness, maybe. And if you're meant to hear it, hopefully you're tuning into this right now. Because regardless of what others have said about you, regardless of what you've done in your life that you're not very proud of, you are an innately magnificent, awesome human being. That's the way you were created. You have that deep down inside of you. There may be a shell, a protective shell around you in terms of what you've had to build up over a lifetime to survive. But deep down inside, you're still that innately awesome, magnificent human being. Nobody, but nobody can convince me otherwise. Regardless of what you've done, regardless of the things, like I say, that you've done that you're not particularly proud of, that still resides within you. You don't give it up. You can't give it up. Yeah. All right. So what do we got? We've got about 12 minutes left here. Anybody else like to share any other insights? I see Oracle has joined us. Rajita hasn't shared. Well, she shared earlier via the chat box, but if you'd like to share something vocally, you're welcome to. Charles saying, I believe it's education that is needed. How about following up with you and Cello to expand access to Positively Brilliant? Yeah, love that. Yeah, the first step in all of this is awareness. Am I aware enough to know that I am not living my life purpose, that I am trying to fulfill everybody else's purpose for me, and it's getting too burdensome? The sad part is it's not awful. I mean, there's lots of I was living a very comfortable life, you know, earlier in my life. I had more money than I ever expected to have. I just wasn't particularly internally satisfied. Whatever I achieved was temporal, meaning that it was short-lived. You know, the old adage in corporate is, what have you done for me lately? You know, I don't care what you did for me last year. What have you done, you know, this quarter, right? Have you produced the amount of products that we're supposed to produce? Have you sold the amount of products you're supposed to produce? Have you serviced the products we're supposed to service, etc.? Whatever your job is in the, you know, the temporal world. My experience was short-lived. Hip hip hooray! Peter gets a bonus trip to the Galapagos Islands. True, that's actually true. Get back from the Galapagos Islands, and yeah, now I'm back on the treadmill. I'm back on what have you done for me lately kind of philosophy. And it wasn't a terrible employer. They treated me incredibly well. They treated, they rewarded me. They had lots of accolades, education, all that. But it's the nature of a corporation. It's the nature of an organization that is in the production mode, the doing mode, as Christine had talked about earlier. And the evaluation is on, not necessarily on your beingness. Okay. I believe that you can also, I believe you can have both. Yes, there's still things in the world that have to get done. There's still things that I have to do. I have to do the dishes. I have to, make a meal. I have to maintain something in the household. Got it. Now, who's the who that goes, that is accompanying me as I'm doing these things? Is it someone that is that bodacious flourishing of life fellow and just thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to have the mobility and the intellect to be able to do all those things? Yeah. And life is sweet. Or is he begrudging, life sucks, changes everything. The attitude that I bring to my doing this changes everything. Yeah. We have a Mark Twain quote apparently here. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for Mark Twain quote, Charles. What was your Mark Twain quote? I'm not saying it, Charles. Just read it out loud for us, would you?
Let me bring it. Basically, it says each of us has within us the substance to do whatever we came to do. All that's missing is education. And I said that needs to be Peterized and played upon, because I think what we really need. It's about education. It's about inspired learning. It's about taking Positively Brilliant, adding a chapter about CoreSELFtech, and just share this wisdom that's been entrusted to you by God with the rest of our brothers and sisters and the animals and the trees and the stars and the heavens.
Amen. Yeah, amen. That's one of the things that we'll probably do this year in 2022 is go through the 21 chapters in Positively Brilliant Self-Mastery. I was going to start it last year, and then I got, for a variety of reasons, I was called to do the Tuesdays with Peter instead. But we can start making that as part of maybe the backbone of some of the conversation points of the direction that we take. Positively Brilliant Self-Mastery, I wrote back in, I think, 2004. I think it got published in 2005. But it talks about what are the life-affirming attitudes? What are the life-affirming beliefs that even go into all of this before we get into knowing who we are? And that's a conscious choice. That's a human conscious choice. I can focus on what's not working. I can focus on what is working. That's my choice. So what kind of attitudes and beliefs do I bring into this work to begin with? And that's like, I think the first 6 or 7, 8 chapters of that book. The other chapters go into knowing oneself at different levels, the core values, life purpose, natural gifts and talents. There's chapters, and after you know that, what do you do with it? Do you actually apply it to your life or not? And lastly, do you celebrate that when you recognize, do you really even recognize that you've done that after you've incorporated that core value, that life purpose, that natural gifts and talent? So there's 21 chapters to that. It's a short read. There's little stories in there from Coach for Life graduates that supported me and giving a real live example, like a page, 2 pages of a story that illustrates that particular point. So it's not available in hard copy, but it's still available on Amazon.com and the Kindle. I think it's for like $9, so you can download a virtual copy. So we may get into that. We may start using that as a theme for conversation on a weekly basis. Not next week, but maybe starting in March we'll start doing that. So thank you for that. All right. Anything else that anybody else wants to say to wrap up? Rajita's got, as you said, Peter, the signs that you are following your life purpose is when you feel inspired and feel good. And that's when you are being yourself. Those who still don't know who they are, what life purpose is, go to CoreSELFtech.com. Thank you for that, Rajita. Yeah. It'll take you 10 minutes. It may be the best 10 minutes you invest in yourself in your whole lifetime. It's that powerful. Charles?
Well, I mean, thank you. I mean, you know, CoreSELFie, the ambassadors are ready to, you know, bang on the gates. You know, work into your schedule. Let's have an opportunity every time we're together with Peter to offer the offerings, to invite individuals to participate in sharing it. I know your bandwidth is allocated, mine's over allocated, and I live in that world. But there may be people out there whose core purpose is to help reach not just the first billion, but several billion of our brothers and sisters. So why not give them a shot?
Amen.
Well, a women.
Amen. A women. Every human being. All right. Well, we'll call that a wrap then. Thank you very much for being your awesome, magnificent, innately brilliant selves. And keep up the good work of being you. And there's more to be unfolded here. And being an ambassador or creating an ambassador program or ambassador training or ambassador whatever is percolating higher and higher on my list of things to do this year. Clearly aligned with my life purpose. So with that, God bless. Be safe. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone. Namaskar.
See you next week.
Namaste.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.